Hi everyone, and Happy New Year. Well, it isn't quite the new year right now, but by the time this video is released, it will be. So yeah, Happy New Year. And after reaching the modest, but still rather cool milestone of 3,000 YouTube subscribers, I asked you guys to give me some questions to answer. Now, I'm not going to lie and say I got hundreds of questions, but I still got far more than I expected. And from the ones that I was given, I've picked out 10 that I'm going to answer in this video. So let's get right to it. What inspired you to make YouTube videos? Well, I've been making the BWF videos for a couple of years, and I really enjoyed making those, especially diving into certain stories and players and stats and all that kind of thing. But that kind of content had to be limited to around 2 to 3 minutes, and for some of those stories it just required more than that. So one summer when I was on holiday, I was thinking, right, when I get back, I'm going to start a YouTube channel and dive into those stories in far more detail, the kind of detail that they needed to truly come alive. So that's exactly what inspired me to make the YouTube videos. What happened with Swift Badminton? I loved your content with Jonathan. Well, first of all, thanks for that. Yeah, for any of you that don't know, before I did my own YouTube channel and before I did the stuff with BWF, I was a part of a channel called Swift Badminton, one of the first badminton channels to kind of really reach a considerable size. And what happened was that Jonathan kind of just reached a point where he wanted to kind of move on with other things. He also did a long video on his own channel explaining certain things that happened to him during the pandemic where he got long COVID. But it was a whole host of things where we found it difficult to get courts to kind of record the kind of content that we wanted to do, because we weren't just doing straight up tutorials or how-to videos. We were doing more kind of like out there and fun ones, and a lot of badminton clubs just made it difficult for us to kind of be able to do that. So in the end, Jonathan just called it a day and we both moved on. What made you get into the BWF role? Love the content. Again, thanks for the compliment. The BWF one came about during the pandemic actually, and it links to the other question about Swift Badminton. BWF had employed a company called HBS, who they still work with, and they were looking for kind of content creators to make the kind of short form content for their social media sites. They had contacted Jonathan about it, but he really didn't want to get into that, and he kind of put me forward and said that he thought that I'd be really good for the role, that you know, with my knowledge and my previous experience with badminton and the fact that I had some experience with making videos, that I'd be good for it. So we got in touch, we started talking, I made a couple of videos for them and they liked what I did, and it's kind of just gone from there over the last 3 years now actually. So yeah, that's how I got into the BWF stuff. What exactly is your history with badminton? Well, I'm going to try and keep this short because it's quite a lot. My mum and dad met at a badminton club. My mum and both my uncle were professional badminton players. My mum was a bronze medalist at the World Championships and I believe twice got to the semis of the All England, so she was right up there. I never obviously got to the level that she did, but really I grew up around badminton. I didn't take it overly seriously. I was always quite good at it. I played for the county within England where I lived, but it wasn't until I got to about 16 that I took it seriously and I wanted to pursue it as a career. Then I carried that on until I was about 24, during which I also I got my coaching qualifications, helping some of the younger players beneath me. And then when I stopped, I became a head coach at one of the biggest clubs in England. And then I still coach at that club now, not in the same role. I coach at schools and obviously doing all the BWF stuff and now the YouTube stuff. So my history of badminton is that I've grown up around it, I've played it professionally, I've coached players of all levels, and now I'm making YouTube videos about it. Is it only you who does your multimedia content? Short answer, yes. I do all the research, I do all the filming, I do all the editing, everything. Maybe one day if the channel grows big enough and there's enough money, then maybe I can grow a team around this. That would be pretty cool. But if I'm honest, I quite like the process of doing it all myself. I love the editing side, I love researching, I like creating the stories and trying to get better at all of those things. So yeah, at the moment it's only me, and I think I'll probably keep it that way for a while, but you never know in the future. Okay, this one's a bit of a interesting question. Why isn't there any high-ranked men's singles players from England on the BWF World Tour? Well, the simple answer is that it's not that we don't have talent that possibly could make it. The problem is that we don't have anyone absolutely exceptional. I'll be honest about that. But the other thing is that myself included in this, a lot of players from England kind of stop early to mid-20s. Only recently, Johnny Torgerson, who was our number one, announced that he's also quit badminton. So I think that's what happens. On top of that, with the history in the doubles and the mixed doubles events, a lot of good juniors, even singles players, that really don't have, in my eyes, much of the doubles talent, tend to go over to doubles, find relatively quick early success, and then they stick with that, and so singles kind of get left the wayside. The other thing is that in English badminton, doubles kind of rules the way in the club system. So yeah, that's really the reason why we don't have anyone on the World Tour. Hopefully it will change in the near future. What do you think about MOMOTA's future in international tournaments? Would love to see him back on the podium. I would too, and I'd say that we already did see him on the podium twice. Obviously recently at the All Japan Championships and then at the Korea Masters. What do I think of his future? Well, I think it's quite positive. I think it's been quite widely said that whether he'll get back to where he was before the crash, before everything kind of went against him, then I'm not so sure. He's getting older, the game has changed. It's also very difficult, incredibly difficult to be that dominant, and there's a lot of very good young players that will make it very difficult for any one player to dominate as much as he did back then. Having said that, I do think that he could make his way back to being the top Japanese player, and then from there, and a contender at some of the major tournaments in the future. Olympics, it looks doubtful for 2024, and by 2028, it's possible, but also quite tricky. But could he get another World Championships or All England or one of the other major tournaments? Then I'm going to say yes, he definitely can. It'll be interesting. I think these early tournaments in 2024 are going to be quite a good indicator of how the year and the rest of his career might pan out. Which racket, model and weight, and which string, model and tension do you use? I'm not much of a racket and string person, but the racket that I use most of the time, and the one I would choose if I was playing properly, would be the Voltric Z Force 2. I know it's a bit of an older racket, but I haven't played professionally for quite a while, so that was the racket that I last used. In terms of string, usually BG66 Ultimax, and I string it at, these days, 30 and 30-28. No, 28-30, sorry. Is that right? One of the two. I can't remember which one is higher tension. If I was to play properly, maybe I'd get a more modern racket, or I'd try some of the newer ones, and I'd probably go up a little bit higher in the tension. But that's what I would currently use. Having said that, I mix and match my rackets because I'm not trying to take it too seriously. So if I want to play with something else or whatever, then I will do. Who is your favourite badminton player? Currently, I would say it's actually Akane Yamaguchi. I don't know why, it's just something about her. I just like the fact that she is just no fuss. She's got a lovely style. I appreciate how hard it must be for her to get around the court as she does. And just when I watch her play, I always find myself wanting her to win. So I don't really feel that for anyone else. I'm usually pretty impartial, but for Akane Yamaguchi, I always want to support her. So yeah, Akane Yamaguchi is my favourite badminton player at the moment. Who is the best badminton player of all time? Yep, you knew this question was going to come up because I've put it in the thumbnail. It's always interesting to me that whenever this question of best badminton player comes up, it's always a men's singles player. So, you got the usual suspects of Lee Chong-wei and Lin Dan, and then current players like Victor. I would probably say, if I had to pick one out of the men's singles players, then I would always pick, and I always say this to anyone who asks me, it's Lin Dan, because he was the complete package. He revolutionized the game. He won all the titles multiple times, more than anyone else. you know, his influence both on and off the court, just his star power. I just think he's just everything that encapsulates what you would call the greatest of all time. But if I had to kind of look at everyone and look at it more wholeheartedly, there's also, in my eyes, argument that the greatest of all time could be Park Ju-bong. I say that because the amount of titles that he won is similar to Lin Dan. It's not quite as many, but you got to realise that when he was winning, the World Championships was every other year. Also, for a big part of his career, there was no Olympic Games. He won the Olympic test event. He won everything in both doubles and mixed. Plus, he also did play very good singles. One example would be at the 86 Asian Games, where he won the doubles, the mixed doubles, the team event, and then in the singles, in the team event, he played first singles and beat every single player, including the Chinese guy, Zhao Yonghua, who was a two-time world champion. Two-time? Definitely a one-time world champion in the final in straight games. So, you know, he could play. He was obviously the world's best player at doubles and mixed, but he was also could have easily been one of the world's best players at singles. Won all the team events. No, they didn't win Thomas Cup actually. Sorry, I take that back. But won all the major individual ones that I think is mainly what goes towards greatest of all time. Plus, you know, since then he's also become a very good coach, helping Japan to where they are. So he's kind of like the complete package. So yes, whenever anyone asks me, and everyone always looks towards the singles players, I see Lin Dan. On reflection, there are a few others as well that I haven't mentioned. It is quite obviously a difficult topic, but thinking about this question, Park Ju-bong also jumps out at me. So yeah, Lin Dan and Park Ju-bong. Lin Dan, Park Ju-bong, let's go with those two. Right, there you have it guys, that's the 10 questions I was asked. Thanks to everyone who sent their questions in. I hope you got something out of the answers that I've given. If you have any further questions, then please do feel free to just put them in the comments. I'll do my best to reply to you. Obviously I didn't get to answer every single question that was given. Maybe I'll answer some of those in another one down the line. Who knows when that might happen. Another milestone most likely. If you enjoyed this video, then please do give it a like, share it with anyone you think might also enjoy it. And if you kind of like the kind of content that I'm doing, or what I'm trying to do, as you can see, the storytelling and, you know, getting behind the scenes of all the players, then hit the subscribe button, because in 2024, this year, there's going to be plenty more of that. I've got some big videos lined up. Obviously, being an Olympic year, there's going to be plenty of stuff based around that. So you don't want to miss that if you do like that stuff. So if you haven't subscribed already, then please do. But until the next video, guys, thanks again for sending in those questions. Have a lovely and happy new year, and I'll see you in the next one.